When the days are long, the nights are cold, hold on, hold on. 'Cause everybody hurts sometimes. Hold on. Welcome, my friends. North Star Esoteric. Liam here. To be with you, to share my knowledge in hopes really just to make you feel better. The ultimate goal, I had this experience when I was young. I was at a friend's house. We were outside playing, young. Perhaps I was 5, 6. One of my earlier memories. And his mom scolded him. And he sat down at the trunk of a tree with his face in his hands. And I tried my best to do something funny to make him feel better. And he lifted up his face from his hands and started laughing and wiped away his tears. And that gave me a sense of happiness myself. And purpose, perhaps even, to make others feel good made me feel good. That is ultimately the purpose of, one of the main purposes of what I do. Some of the stuff that I teach, that I preach, doesn't feel good at first, but ultimately, my hope is that it is liberating and freeing, and then ultimately, we come to a place of a more magnanimous feeling of good. And it's really that simple. In this time of year, it is that sitting at the trunk of a tree and putting your face into your hands and crying. The time of the season, astrologically, is related to the sign of Pisces, the end of the solar new year, into Aries, the Passover lamb or ram. It's where the sun goes from being weak, where the darkness prevails over the light. So this is all the years of the part of the year that is in the dark. From Libra, we pass the scales, Scorpio, all the way to Pisces, and then we get to Aries, the ram to the Virgin, Virgo, where we have the gate of life in Masonry. The arc of life is this arc right here, where the light has victory over the darkness. But then we are in the world, and so when we're in the world, it's kind of, it's inverse, which is why in our charts, Capricorn, which is really at the lowest point of the year, where darkness reigns in this world, it's the top of our charts where we're seeing our career, our legacy. That's an esoteric mystery. That's often why we see reflecting pools. That's one of the things that they are showing to us. As you see a rainbow that comes down, it has red on top and blue on the bottom. But our energy is a reverse of that. And it's those two reversals in between, that conflict is how we have existence. Because everything is one, then it's none. You need two to have an experience, and the three is that experience. That's the mystery of the Trinity. Where there's two of you gathered in my name, there I am. So three is also really one. Mind-boggling. But to get back to our, so what does this all mean? In our lives right now, it's right before you wake up out of your sleep. So here is where we go to sleep. And this is right before we wake up, where we're often in the deepest part of our sleep. And also, we're waking up and we're in between the two worlds. You know how you can kind of skate in between your dream world and being a lot conscious, fully conscious, awake? You could kind of ride that line. And it's very ethereal, dreamy. Yep, 1 foot on land, 1 foot in the water. Into your bridge. A priest is what brings God, the unseen, the unconscious, to the conscious active light, which is why Pisces is the sign of Levi, and the Levites are the priests. It's astrotheological. And the Pisces in this life are on the axis of service, with their opposite being Virgo. Virgo's at service into the world. It's earth sign. Often they're like servers, nurses. Pisces, they're at service in the non-earthly realm. It's the nun, the cloistered nun, cloistered away. So what we want to do is we're trying to harmonize ourselves with nature, because we are nature. We want to balance these two. And the Pisces often does it through music, art. They could express themselves, but it's a melancholic attitude. It's the time of loss, and so it's letting go, which is a good kind of motif to bring into this ritual. Why do we do rituals and ceremony? Because we are trying to match the outer world with the inner world. And we use objects to engage the senses and the imagination to line ourselves up with that and to work in that world for ultimately our own good and the good of the world around us. So what is good to do right now is to go turn. If you can't do this right now, just do it with me in your mentals. Just go into the dark, close your eyes, turn off all the lights, and imagine an empty, dark, black chasm, a void, where all is one and one is none. And we are going to open up this floodgate of spiritual waters, a mystic ocean we're going to let run through us and washing and taking and pulling, extracting all that stuff out of us that is weighing us down, that is keeping us from shining light, or being light. And we let all those things go down into that abyss, into nothingness. Great recycler. It is a purgation. It can happen through tears. It can happen through intentional running water. And we are doing a cleanse of all the karmic baggage we picked up throughout last year, all those things that we don't want to carry with us forward, all those things that do not serve us, all the unhealthy ways that we talk to ourselves, our actions, how we've talked to others. We forgive ourselves. We forgive others as much as rationally possible and necessary. We let all of these things that are weighing us down release from us. We let go from it. All those addictions, attachments that are unhealthy, we release them. We let them go. They flood all off of us into this pit of purification. And then we give thanks for this opportunity to be able to cleanse ourselves, rid ourselves, that we might refresh ourselves now as we receive the sun rising above the horizon, first day of spring, rising from the dead. We die to this, our fake, false senses of self, so that we might more fully enter into the better version of ourselves. So then, as that light gets re-enlivened, re-sparked, let us bring that light. Let us receive it with joy and thanks that we are still here. Through all the pain and all the suffering, we have been forged in fire so that our actions might be more in line with that which is good for ourselves and the greater good, our families, our people, our communities. We re-enchant this world with hope, with vigor, courage. Courageously, we go forward to bring beauty, to bring peace, harmony, and justice to this world to the best of our abilities. And that will suffice for this ceremony ritual. To bring us in to the new solar year, more in line with our authentic self, more supported on our true soul's destined path. Not giving a fuck about what other people think or say about us. Ready to be a fearless warrior, priest, king, queen, whatever you are. We are fucking royal, divine. We reclaim our sovereignty. And we're going to come out here and kick some ass. Now, let's look at the stars. The sun, the moon, they have all been brought out. You left Grant's Modern Life. Thank you for looking at us. So, even though at the start of the spring equinox, we have that new life force injected into us, and what we want to do is carry it, um, come together with others, make it brighter, and nurture it, and carry it up the hill to the summer solstice. But we're not quite there right now. It's We still have another day left of that purgation. It could be emotional floodgates open up, despair, even stuff like suicidal stuff, psychosis, just feelings of failure. Some of this is coming from an unhealthy ego, comparing ourselves to others when we all have our own unique souls path and journey and lessons that we're here to learn, wisdom to gain, and experiences to be had. And often, what Pisces, by taking away everything from us, it shows us almost that this world is just a dream. It's a real dream. And we live in a time where that dream, Maya, Kali Yuga, is more powerful than the light. But we're in that transitional phase. So let us remember that to live is to suffer. And what does the East teach us? That a part of that suffering is this idea of self that we hold on to that is fictional. And we create it, and it creates pain and suffering. So it's to realize that ultimately, essentially, we are not a thing. It's not a thing. It's nothing. That's and, when you can fully grasp that, and it doesn't come just by hearing it. Sometimes maybe it does, but it's experiencing it. From that, we gain experiential knowledge, and we meet that in the void, the chasm of nothingness, where we have to surrender to this false sense of ego that's actually smaller than what we really are. Ye are gods. And what? And a god is not a thing. It's nothing. So that's why they call Buddhists sometimes atheistic, but it's not. It's quite profound. Hold on. Yeah, dude, I've been going through it myself. Just like if I was really gone, who would miss me? Lonely, poor, ugly, I'm getting old. I don't like my voice. I don't like my teeth. I don't like my life. I don't like just fucking depression. And I know it's just these things, they come and go. And I have a habit of going into escape mode and not facing those real emotions. And in that is strength. And it takes courage to do it. It's cowardly to just go and drink myself numb. And we may be doing that like metaphorically. That this time of year, it's like that the hangover kind of is in place and the high has come off. And then some clarity is starting to seep in. And at first, that light, when it exposes darkness, it can be very daunting and depressing. we have to hold on and hope and faith in the story of Jebus, an ahistorical, fictional, metaphorical story, mostly about the sun going through the year. When Jebus is on the cross and he says, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" That's the feeling of Pisces, of the last moments of the sun on the cross in suffering and pain. And then the answer to that is to say, "My God, I give up my spirit." It's a surrender, it's a release. And then just when we think the movie is over, bam, the light explodes, and through death, we conquer death. It's got a little bit lost, but yeah, so that's kind of it's the passing through the waters of Israel, the chosen people of the Exodus, the land of the dead, of false idol worship, whatever. It's a totally fictional story, by the way. There wasn't no evidence for Exodus. That don't just know that. And then so when it goes through the waters of purification, of death, mem, the 13th letter associated with blood. After you go through the 12 dirty, which is water, the Red Seas, to come to the promised land at the Passover lamb, which is our crown. So in this body, this cosmic body that we're in, we're leaving the tiptoes of its heel, of its toes. And the energy is going from down of the depths, the lowest parts, up to the crown heights. There's a Jewish community of Orthodox called Crown Heights. The rabbis have the esoteric knowledge, and it's like Hermetic, ultimately Persian, and mixed with the Egyptian and Eastern stuff. So not one group has the Jews don't have a monopoly on esotericism, okay? Oh man, it's been depressing. I've been ahead of the game, and some other my internet fam, we've been preaching about Israel and the harmful parts of Abrahamic prophecy that relates to our geopolitics for 7 years, 8 years. My boy Adam Green, No More News, he's been on this forever. And now people are just waking up, and you would think that would feel good, but it doesn't, because we've been banned and shadow banned. And then all these crazy, kooky conspiracies get thrown in, and they muddy the waters, and it leaves no room for actual criticism when we're blaming some Illuminati's Baal worshippers. When really, it's the God of the Bible, the God of Jacob, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, even Satanism, really. And Satanism is a whole other thing too. And so I like to think people are waking up, and this is the time of the year of waking up from the Kali Yuga. Maybe we might even have a little taste of that as we go from Pisces to Aries. And on the greater cosmic year is going from Pisces to Aquarius. So we're looking at double when we actually are in Pisces season, in the age of Pisces, or at least on the transitional cusp. It's like a double whammy. Go to my videos on Instagram, on here, on Facebook, where I've been looking at this chart and I say, hey, this is ripe for us to go into a war over a lie. Why? Because we had Neptune in Pisces, where it's at home. So that's also very dreamy. And then we take the Neptune is kind of Maya. It's the illusion. And then so as it moves into Aries, the sign of like war of Mars, it's the the deceptive energy going into a home of war. If if any astrologer worth their weight in beans, forget that saying, gold, didn't say that, then I'm not sure. Nah, I'm not here to judge other astrologers. So even though tomorrow we have the sun moving into Aries for the spring equinox, we still have Saturn, even the moon in Aries, which is it's not at home. So it's feeling like we don't have. It's like the card in the tarot of the horse, the fire wands, the Knight of Wands, just moving forward, and the horse is like, and it's just like fire, you're ready to go, and the horse is like, whoa, I don't have like a sturdy ground, and part of that, we just want to make sure we're on the right path and have some faith and trust that we're taking the right steps because it's in line with our heart, and it's like courageously being disciplined. The negative part of that could be having to learn that lesson. And so that's getting punishment for when we weren't disciplined. And that could be depressing and sad. But ultimately, hopefully, the lesson that we learn from Pisces season is that light wins over dark. And that nature shows us that. I found a snake skin in my backyard this morning, which it's totally the final releasing, the shedding of that snake skin, that old cells. It feels icky. It's a releasing of that. Let that go. And now we have this brand new aura. We're going from the descent, and then we're coming out of the ascending out of the dark. And then right now we hitting the light, being fully out of the dark. And we still have some of that dross behind us because we do have the depositor of Aries, which is Mars, back at 13 degrees of Pisces. So that's another year of clearing up stuff. The North Node in Pisces is still like our karmic arrow for another only quarter of a year. Yeah, about a quarter of a year. So that our karmic arrow is pointed right now at on a greater like cosmic human body, uh, unconscious, subconscious part of us. It's it's a great. It's like really, I think, flushing out the Kali Yuga, the age of Pisces, so that we can fully step into Aquarius. And it's going to take courage and strength, fortitude, self discipline, sobriety, even. I might just be talking to me right there. Maybe some others. Just unhealthy attachments, and that could be to addictions, uh, mind frames, people. relationships, past trauma. And it's collective purgation and cleansing, and that's painful. But it's suffering to strengthen us. And so now the suffering of fulcrum point is, I think, making a big click in towards the scales starting to come back into balance. And we'll see that on a worldwide collective level, the dark being exposed and within ourselves as well. Really, the outward world is a reflection of our inner world in very real ways. And so how can we adopt a better frame of mind, a filter into which to approach this world and be in it, but also with one foot on land and one foot in the water, balance, not suppressing our emotions because it's like a cancerous tumor. And right now is the extraction of that. And then in the pain receding and the wound healing, which is often still painful and uncomfortable, and then really reaching a point of now we're strengthening. We can't always be in a healing mode. The healing is coming to an end, and healing is often painful. And now we're going into warrior mode. But even though kind of a part of us is still back into the land of Pisces, because Mars being the depositor, still being in Pisces for some time. That's us not forgetting our lessons that ultimately in the dark, when all was lost and not, the light was still there. When we thought it was gone, perhaps through our actions, we thought because of karmic dealings, even from our own actions, perhaps even justified, the light can't go out because it's not a thing. And so holding on to that, having faith in that, not forgetting that, even through our darkest, deepest hours, our big W-I, a we, the uppercase I, is still there. And that's what's true. And so anchored to that, we go out into the world. Fearless of death. Because we know that death is a lie. Do I want to pull cards? Let's pull one card from the Starseed Oracle. My fellow Starseeds. Yeah, I got into it with some people, even popular people, and lots of people in this spiritual community are just out there to such a point where it's delusional and psychotic. And myself too sometimes, perhaps. And so now it's a reeling it in. Reel it in, bro. Let's ask for some guidance from the great cosmic Matra mediatrix, our intuition, our priestess behind the veil, for some guidance at this time. Star bathing. Ooh, we talked about bathing, didn't we? Light body, that which cannot be extinguished, my friend. Crystal grid, dude. See, that's kind of some of that talk that gets a little too woo-woo for me. Dude, I was in the crystal grid. Transmission, activation. I think that's activation is definitely a good part about this time. I'm gonna look at the chats in a second. If anybody has any. When I'm cooking, I can't look at the chat because I'm tapping into the star grid, the crystal grid, bro. Let's see what we say for star bathing. The stars are constantly showering emanations onto the crystalline grid of the Earth. When things are in balance, the planet also sends information back up to the stars. When things are in balance, the planet also sends information back up to the stars. Many star seeds, my fellow star seeds. The new age is kind of, hey, better than Jeebus. Many star seeds have come to Earth at this time to help shift the planet vibrationally, to activate the ancient codes of wisdom that humanity has forgotten. And all of that information is stored in the crystalline grid, the Akashic records. If you pull this card, you may be being called to begin working with the stars. And we're doing that in the crystalline grid of the earth. I think a way to do that is to jump in between the awake state and the sleep state. That's kind of a hack into the crystalline grid, perhaps. Some people believe that the crystalline grid of the earth anchors divine cosmic frequencies onto the planet. You may be guided to journey to particular places on earth to unlock these cosmic codes with your presence. Dude, I saw about something like these ancient royals and priests or kings or queens in certain parts of the world, like on the chakra points of the crystalline grid. They intentionally like put a upside down like you phallic symbol to like stop the plug the energy for coming out. That's like helpful for us. Like, seriously, like we think of like the Eastern religions of Buddhism and Hinduism often as like oh like hippie and cool, but there's dark priests and stuff in that too. You may also be interested in a practice called star bathing. Download a star bathing meditation at www.starseedoracle.me. No, they tried to plug in there. No, hey, good for them. This card commonly arises because you're here to connect with the crystalline grid of the earth, either in your hometown or by traveling to other places without quite knowing why. There's one near me in Sarasota, and there's like a coral castle that's linked up with it. I think or that. It can also mean that your light body, the energy body in its highest form, is being activated. If this resonates, take things extra slow in order to integrate this change of vibration. When I had this whole rebirth experience when I was 19, and it was in the context of Christianity, so I talked about it like accepting Jesus as my personal savior. Really, lots of that is accepting actually a chain on you, but there was definitely a whole letting go aspect to it, and then a new flood of light coming in and an activation. And I was running around like a madman, calling all my friends, asking them if they accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior. Oh. Yeah, so if I could go back, and when you get that flood of a new light energy shift, what we want to try to do is ground it. And in order to do that, we want to be balanced when we receive it. Kabbalah is about receiving, how to best receive light. And there's a science to it. And it goes from when we have a spark of consciousness, fire, to air, how we think about it, communicate it, water, how we feel about it, and express it ultimately, and bringing those three together, the three into Earth, the one, which is really three in one. This experience, this what we call I. So the more that we're linked up with the cosmos in harmony with nature, which is ourselves, because we are nature, then our I is true. And we're building on that I is our kingdom of heaven. And we're trying, the more that we can be our true, authentic I, we're bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. As within, so without, so mote it be. That, my friends, will be the conclusion of our spring equinox ceremony ritual. Look into the heavens. Grant's Modern Life. Thanks for tuning in, bro. You're the only person to chat. I think I might have to start a whole new channel and whatnot. I'm just stuck in shadow ban world. That's very Piscean. And starting like a whole new thing, that would be more jumping into my Aries self. So I might just have to let go of, I've just maxed out. And they put me into, I'm just talking to a wall because I talk about controversial stuff. Because I've been calling out Israel's control over American government for years. And because I've been calling out the Abrahamic religion's control over us as well. Those are third rails you don't touch. But you know what? Maybe we start off anew. Before I switch over to, and it'll just be called North Star Esoteric, but it'll just be it'll have to be a new account, not attached to my former VPN. Bastards. All right, signing off.